Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, with insightful reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, helping you improve your game from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Epson, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, once again, and welcome to the Women of Golf. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional, Cindy Miller. And Cindy, how are you doing this morning? I gather you're a little under the weather.
No. Why would you say that?
I thought you said you were a little under the weather. I'm sorry. My hearing's getting bad. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to refrain from saying anything there. But yeah. All right. Good morning, everybody, and once again, welcome to the show. We got a great show for you this morning. We're going to be joined here in just a second by the latest winner on the Epson Tour, winner of the 2022 Iowa Golf Classic, Grace Kim. She's going to be joining us. And a little bit later on, we are going to once again spin into the no BS zone for a great discussion on the mental side of the game. So I hope you stick around for that as well. But let me tell you a little bit about our guest this morning, and then we'll bring her on. Again, the winner of the Iowa Golf Classic for 2022 was Grace Kim. She was born December 13th, 2000, and is an Australian professional golfer who currently plays, as I mentioned, on the Epson Tour. She won the TPS Sydney on the ALPG Tour in 2021 and 2022. As an amateur, she won the Australian Girls Amateur and the Australian Women's Amateur, and in the 2018 Summer Youth Olympics. So, Cindy, let's welcome to the show our very special guest this morning, Grace Kim.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
We're doing great. Where are you driving to?
I'm actually driving to Kissimmee from Mission Inn area, so it's a bit of a drive. So I've just got a lesson this morning.
Nice. Who's your lesson with?
Preston Combs. He's a putting coach, so my coach is in town, so we're going to have a couple of hours spent with him just working on my putting as well.
Well, that's great. Ted?
Very good. Well, Grace, first off, congratulations from both of us on your win this past weekend. I know you're obviously pretty excited. It's your first Epson Tour win, and very early in the season, so lots of golf left, of course, but congratulations. Tell us a little bit about your round.
Yes, thank you. I think it was one of those weeks where things just went well for me. I hit majority of the fairways, the greens, gave myself a lot of opportunities for birdie, which I made a lot of them. So I guess, you have one of those good weeks where you just don't really think much and you just do and it goes in the hole sort of thing. Very
good. And also notice, too, about 5 years ago, a fellow Aussie, because you're, again, from Australia, Hannah Green won the Iowa Classic as well. So you're in good company. So that had to be pretty exciting. I don't know if do you know Hannah at all?
Yeah, no, Hannah is a really nice friend of mine now. She did message me the night before saying, go get it, and I said I'll follow her footsteps, and I'm glad that I did.
Well, it's always nice to win, but obviously even extra special when a fellow countryman wins especially the same event. So that's always something very special. So did you find, and let's back it up a little bit earlier into the event, did you have any struggles earlier on? And if so, what were some of the struggles that you had? And if not, what were some of the other challenges that you faced throughout the entire event?
I think just mainly, I'm still getting the hang of playing in Bermuda greens, or courses, sorry. From where I am, we don't have that much rain. So just understanding how the ball reacts, how the club reacts, I think really helped me achieve this win. So playing in Brisbane, up in North Queensland, back at home earlier this year helped me understand that. So I think I applied that really well this week.
So if I understand what you just said, am I to understand then in Australia, it tends to be a little drier, so maybe the courses play a little firm, maybe very similar to what in Texas is also very dry at times. Is that basically what you're saying, is that they tend to play a little more firm, so you're not holding the greens as easily maybe in Australia as you would here on the Bermuda greens here in Florida?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends whereabouts in Australia you are, but from where I am in Sydney, we don't really have that much Bermuda grass, so grain's not really a big component of like the golf game. So, I mean, you get here and there, it's really subtle, but I guess I wasn't grown up learning how to sort of understand that. And yeah, it can get firm, so I guess normally you don't really go straight at the pin and just, you know, attack knowing that the ball's going to stop after the first bounce sort of thing.
Right. Very interesting. Cindy, go ahead.
You mentioned that you didn't really have to think, and you had a lot of opportunities for birdie. Tell us how often a round like that happens for someone who works at this game for a living and plays it almost every day.
Well, I mean, like, when I say it, I didn't think, I didn't really mean, like mentally I was, like, my brain was ticking, but I think what I meant was when you just hit the ball, like, it just turns out the way you wanted it to, and I think that's really important for someone like myself or any other golfer on tour, to be able to have practiced that much that you can just visualize what kind of shot's going to come out. I think it's really important just so you can boost your confidence. Whether or not you have the confidence during that week, I think I learned recently that you just have to be competent to be confident, because you're not going to lose your golf swing out of, like, overnight. So you just got to do it, I guess.
Yeah, and I didn't mean you weren't thinking. What I mean was you're not trying to make an outcome happen. You're staying in the present moment and focusing on the task at hand. I think almost everybody that plays golf has to learn to discipline their thoughts. And again, we weren't able to watch you win, but it's kind of like what Justin Thomas did on the last, 9 holes of the PGA Championship. You could tell he was so focused on the task at hand. So tell us what your process is. If you, like, let's say you've got a shot that's 145 to the pin, you want to carry it 140. What would you go through with your caddy or by yourself in your mind to be able to hit that shot close to the hole?
Yeah, so like you said, the worst thing you want to do is force an outcome. So I guess if it's 145, I work in meters, so if it's 145 meters, I'll just see what the pin surrounds are like. I guess if I was to miss, where the best miss would be, where the straight putt is, and I guess I'll just pick out a club that's the closest carry to that. Whether it's if it's a back pin, then I'll go for the shorter club. If I've got heaps of room behind the pin, then I normally just go attack. But I'd probably just grab my 6-iron and hit a nice easy one.
Got it. Thanks. Ted?
So, Kim, let me ask you, this was extra special, this particular event. Not only was it your first professional win, obviously on the Epson Tour, but your dad caddied for you to help you sort of, as they say, take it over the top. How special was that, and what does he do in moments when you're struggling on the golf course? Does he say anything to you? Does he know to sort of keep quiet and just let you work through the process yourself? Give us an idea of that relationship as he's helping you on the bag.
Yeah, no, he's he's been really good. Like, he flew in on Monday, so it was a bit jet lagged, but over the couple of days, he sort of saw and like how it was laid out. So normally he's just pulling the bag. I really just like to work on it myself. With club selection, he is pretty good with agreeing with me, and we normally have the same mind, but he just lets me do things by myself, which I'm quite comfortable with.
Yeah, and that's good, because I think for particularly for some players, they have to work through the process themselves, and it's good once in a while, obviously, if the caddy can offer some input or insight maybe that you hadn't thought of, that will help you again sort of come to a conclusion of whatever decision you need to make. But it's also good that they need to know that, hey, sometimes I need to just step back and let them work through it themselves. You mentioned just before we went live on air that you're on your way to a putting lesson and some other things. How has your putting been thus far this season, and is that something that you feel you need to work a lot on? Is that an area of your game that you struggle with from time to time, or you're just sort of tuning things up?
It's mainly for me, the technical side of things for putting is normally pretty sound. I guess it's normally adjusting to conditions, so speed and greed reading. And I guess today I'm going to find out whether I'm missing anything. It's more just a checkup. And I think putting for anyone is the moneymaker, so you always have to work on it, I guess.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of amateurs could take heed to that statement and recognize that that's a big part of the game. Everybody, and I know you see this in pro-ams, where everybody's trying to fire as far as they can out in the driving range with their driver, but not spending a lot of time on the putting green, getting used to the speed and so forth of the greens. When you do have, and every player has it, walk us through the process when you're not having a good round. What do you say to yourself mentally to turn things around, to get you on the right track? And are you somebody who reflects back on a bad hole, or are you able to shut that out and move forward? And what do you do to do that?
I guess the main thing for me is just to stick to the present and to be patient. I'm actually quite a very impatient person, so just not having to rush and take a couple of deep breaths and sort of refresh my mind to have a clear mind for my next shot, rather than having that backed up in my brain. If I was to miss like a short putt and I punch myself for it, and I mean I think patience is key for me. I think for any golfer really, and for me I guess having a couple of reminders in my yardage book helps me, because you sometimes get a bit carried away for the goal. You just sort of have to take a step back and read through little reminders in your book. So.
Now you've also mentioned you were, as I mentioned earlier, you were a two-time winner on the Women's All-Pro Tour in 2021 as an amateur. What impact did that have on your development? How did it help you? Did it help you build some character and confidence in your game? Give us an overview of how it helped you as you progress now to the Epson Tour, and obviously your ultimate goal is to get to the LPGA Tour.
I think it really helped me, like you said, build character and confidence, especially playing as an amateur and winning as an amateur. Just understanding, just knowing that I'm good enough to be amongst these pros, I think was a definite confidence booster. So, I'm glad that it happened as an amateur as well, and it sort of helped me with being in contention. Sort of helped me relax, I guess, when it comes to like important turns or whatever. So, I think it's a really good stepping stone for the Epson Tour for sure.
Very good. Cindy, go ahead.
What do you do for fun?
For fun?
For fun.
I like to eat and sleep. I've actually been hooked onto Grey's Anatomy ever since I got here this year. So I guess just Netflix and chill.
Sometimes it's good to go brain dead, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I love being brain dead, but most of the time, to be honest.
Oh, that's funny. Now, do you typically travel alone?
When I do, I try to find majority of other friends or Aussies that I can travel with. I mean, Dad's here from now on for a couple of months, so that'll be fine. But normally, yeah, I just try and avoid spending a week alone. I guess that's the hardest thing as a tour life athlete. So if I can find a couple of friends that I can sort of split payments with or whatever we need to pay for, I try to do that as much as I could.
Perfect. Ted?
So, Kim, let me ask you, Grace, let me ask you about traveling on tour. Not so much the driving and that, but what's the hardest part for you? Is it sticking to a routine? I'm talking about off the course, not on the course. Is it difficult for you to stick to a routine? Let's say, cooking your own meals, or do you prefer to eat out? And what's the most difficult part of the travel, or going from course to course for you?
I think, I guess living out of a suitcase, one, is pretty hard. As a girl, you do need a lot of things. So for me, living out of a suitcase is quite hard. I just can't seem to travel light, which is a struggle for me. And I guess the other thing would be just the main things like eating, or like you said, routine. Normally you have a nice routine when you're home. You go to the gym, you go to practice, but sometimes you're not you don't have access to those facilities. So I think that's like pretty tough, and just having to, I guess, plane rides, driving, whatever, it gets quite, I guess, pretty tiring on your body as well. So just physically can get quite draining.
Right. And we've interviewed a number of other young ladies from the Epson tour over the years, and essentially it's the same thing. It's getting into that routine, especially when you've got several weeks strung in a row that you're going from event to event. It's sort of keeping up that pace. What's the hardest part for you when it comes to your game? What do you struggle the most with, and what do you do, or what do you feel you need to work on the most, I guess is the better way to put it? What's one thing that you really need to work on the most to keep your game sharp?
I think for me, dialing in my numbers, like for distance wedges, it's always been the main thing, the short game side of things. Like I said, chipping and putting is always going to be the money makers. So I think always having that in sharp notch is always going to be you're never not going to be good if you have your numbers right. And I think just like I read a quote. I saw the interview post by LPGA overnight. I think Alison Lee was talking about all the mental side of things, and I think I 100% agree, and I don't think anyone else can agree more than anyone on tour. It's a mental sort of challenge for sure for any athlete really. So I guess just making sure you're on the right track mentally, checking up with psychologists if you can, with your family and friends, coach, whoever, just to see if you're in the right spot and in the right headspace is always going to be crucial.
Yep, I agree. If you were to not do what you're doing, if you were not a professional golfer, if this was not in your radar, what would you like to do as a career or as a profession?
I was actually thinking that not long ago, and I really don't know what I'd be doing. But if I was to choose, I'd probably do something in the fashion industry.
That's very interesting. Into designing or the creative side of it, do you think, or what?
Yeah, definitely the designing and like creative sort of stuff. Otherwise, I'd just be a fitness influencer or something.
That's interesting. Have you ever thought down the road, as some professionals that play on tour, maybe even consider teaching? Some have done that, not everybody, but some have done that. Is that something that would be of interest to you as well?
Yeah, I mean that would. I mean, I do have the knowledge to be able to teach. I guess it's just a matter of my skills for teaching. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, I don't know. Like that would definitely be a thing. I would want to share my knowledge with other people. So I guess that could be something.
Mm-hmm. As you get ready for your next event, you're coming off a win, so that obviously gives you a lot of confidence and a lot of positive energy. What are you going to, from this past week's event, what are you going to tap in besides that to help you challenge the next course that comes your way?
Well, I think I'm going to just try my best to repeat what I did last week. Just being patient, one shot, one hole at a time, because during my final round, I didn't start off very well, and obviously I was quite nervous. But I think just repeating to myself that you've got 16 holes. Like it's a long day. Like 18 holes is a long period of time. So just being able to stay patient and just do my thing and be confident, even if I'm not confident, would probably help me finish well, hopefully again this week.
Very good. I have one final question, then Cindy, I'll throw it back to you. Obviously, you've watched a lot of golf as well as played golf. Who was somebody that you looked up to as a player that inspired you to do what you're doing?
I guess you're going to think I'm biased, but I do really like what Kari Webb's been doing, and obviously she's achieved so much, and she's an icon for every Australian. Anyone in Australia, to be honest, because, she's achieved so much, and yet she still is quite humble and is down to earth. Mm-hmm. She's always down for a chat. She's even got a scholarship to help us Aussie girls out. And I think, to me, that's definitely something I'd want to be able to be doing in the future, just be that successful and hopefully, bit like teaching, I guess, give it back. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something I look up to.
Well, I know that's something that's very, very common in women's professional golf. A lot of the legends of the game do just that, give back, and I think that's a very great and admirable goal to have for a game that gives really its players so much opportunity to be able to turn around and give that back to a future generation. So well done, well said. Cindy, go ahead.
If you were to say or tell or help a young girl who wants to be an LPGA professional, what are the two most important things they need to know, do, or see?
I guess the main thing that anyone would really say would be to enjoy it. At times, you really don't understand what it means to enjoy it. But when you do look back, you just wish, at times for me, I wish I really enjoyed my time a lot more than I had. And I think making sure you're having fun is definitely key. Otherwise, why would you be doing it in the first place? And two, I guess, just put in the work. Even if you have days where you don't feel like doing it, it'll pay off. So just keep grinding.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Very good. Well, Grace, we want to thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you giving of your time, and continued safe travels and much continued success in your next event. And congratulations once again on winning the 2022 IOA Golf Classic. Again, congratulations on winning that event.
Thanks for your time, guys. Thanks.
Good luck.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have fun.
All right, Grace Kim, this past week's Epson Tour winner of the 2022 IOA Golf Classic. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we will come back and enter the No BS zone and have a great discussion on the mental side of the game.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back. And as always, we're going to enter the no BS zone and have a great discussion, I believe, on the mental side of the game. This is an area that a lot of people, Cindy, I think, struggle with. They work so hard on the physical side of their game, but this is an area that I think a lot of particular amateur golfers, juniors, what have you, really don't even focus on and don't even think about. They just sort of get out there and go through the motions, but they don't really realize the important connection that you need to have in the old brain box, if you will. So the first point I want to bring up and we can have a discussion on is really the importance of mentally preparing for your next round. So whether you're playing in your club championship, even if it's just with your weekend foursome, or maybe in Grace's case for her next event. Cindy, draw from your own experience. Did you do anything special to prepare mentally when you were going out on the LPGA or the Legends Tour to prepare for that next round? What did you do?
It's funny that you ask. It's I don't know that people really think about what they're doing when they get ready to hit a shot. So I think it's really important that you have a process that you stick to. And that's kind of why I asked Grace if, what does she do if she's got a shot that's 145, she wants to fly at 140? What are the steps she takes to get ready to hit a shot? And so many people just look at the number, I'm at 150, I'm going to hit my 150 club. Well, let's think for a minute. What's your lie look like? What's the wind doing? So all those things in your process, I think if people did that and created one that they could trust and commit to, it would help them get better. So I don't mentally prepare to go play in a tournament. I make sure I stay focused on the process that I need to produce a shot no matter where I'm at. And that's difficult to do, as Grace just mentioned, to be in the game for 4.5 hours. You need to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Otherwise, you're mentally exhausted.
Yeah, and I remember several seasons back, we talked about that very thing. I think, if I remember correctly, and I got a brain fog going here. So the guest that was on talked about Annika Sorenstam had that very same problem in the U.S. Women's Open, where she was really playing, 4.5 hours of just straight golf and not giving her brain a rest. And the advice this particular player gave her was, Annika, you're, remodeling your kitchen, in between shots, think about something. In other words, decompress from the game for the moment, just for a brief moment until you're ready for your next shot. And you've got to do that because, I don't care how mentally tough, and I guarantee it without even asking him, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, some of the other greats of the, what I call the mental side of the game, I guarantee have to do that. Now, that doesn't mean they don't stay in the game. That just means that sometimes they have to decompress a little bit by shifting their focus onto something momentarily, walking in between holes or what have you, or waiting for their turn, in order to allow themselves to regroup and focus on what the task at hand. And something that I recommend, and this is more for amateurs, obviously professionals have the ability to play in pro-ams or play in practice rounds. So they're able to get familiar with, even if it's a new course, somewhat. They can sort of map it out. But for amateur golfers that maybe you get invited, a buddy invites you to a course, or you go on a buddy trip and you're playing an area that you've never played before, it's always a good, I think, an opportunity to sort of scope out, if you don't get a chance to actually get out there and visually see the course, get a scorecard, look at, go online. Most golf websites will have diagrams of what the holes look like. and just sort of visualize in your mind, okay, you know what your abilities are, you know that you can hit a pretty good drive, and sort of map out. It doesn't have to be exact, but kind of map out a game plan, if you will. Get yourself mentally prepared. Okay, the first tee, what do I want to do? I want to put myself in this position here. And obviously you may not have time to go over the whole 18, but just kind of visually get yourself, okay, here's what I need to do. I want to avoid these things, so on and so forth. And I think it's just a way of kind of getting yourself in the groove of what you're about to happen. Because, again, amateur players don't always get the opportunity to play, a course in a practice round. So, it's a real life situation for them. So I think if you can do something, and again, you don't have to go overboard, but just something to kind of get yourself in the mind. But I agree with you as well, as you have to get focused on the process as well. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that in a moment. But the other thing, Cindy, too, I think that a lot of golfers at all levels have is how do we handle the stress and or anxieties on the golf course? Because we're all going to, I don't care what level you are, everybody has anxieties and some stress. Whether it's a challenging hole, whether it's maintaining a lead or trying to come from behind. That can be sometimes a stressful situation. Was there anything particular that you did when you found yourself in that moment that maybe could help some of our amateur golfers listening in this morning?
Well, a couple things. The people that were talking to Annika were Lynn Marriott
yes.
and Nelson. They were her coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And they made her remember that her pre-shot routine only took like 23 seconds. And they said, you average 71, so how many minutes do you really need to focus out there today? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm saying. If you know what your pre-shot routine is and you don't give it any value and any emotion, it's just like, let's just go do this, and then you can go off on a tangent and think about whatever else you want. So that's number one. I just forgot your question.
Handling stress or anxiety on the golf course.
Again, are you trying to make something happen? You cannot create outcomes. You can't control that. If you could, everybody would shoot nothing every time they play. So be aware of your thoughts. Absolutely know, what am I thinking right now, and is it the right thing to think? And so discern the difference between good thoughts and bad thoughts, and do you have the discipline to corral your mind back to think what you should be thinking? And so many players, we've got a bunch of kids, we're doing the Under Armour Junior Tour here, and there's a few of them that have not been playing or shooting the scores they should shoot. Put it that way.
Right.
So when they go to their course, they're telling me how they're shooting 71, 72. Well, now for 9 holes, they're shooting 42. Well, what's the difference? They're trying to make something happen. They're trying to win a tournament. You can't do that. You have to focus on the task at hand. And then you have to become aware of it. And you have to be willing to look in the mirror and admit it. So many people are, no, that's not what I'm doing. Well, clearly that's what you are doing. And again, this past weekend, watching Justin Thomas stay focused in the playoff, it was like, wow, this guy is on a mission, and he's committing to each shot that he's chosen to hit, and he's completed the execution of the shot, and there you go, you get the outcome.
Yep. Yeah, and I think also, too, for a lot of players, you're right. I mean, focusing on the task at hand and not allowing yourself to get. And I think also too, even for amateurs, don't focus on the scorecard. I see a lot of amateurs that get out there and maybe their goal is to break 90, let's say as an example, and they're counting all the way up to where they are at the present moment. And they're thinking to themselves, especially as they get to the last few holes, well, I've got a birdie, or I've got a, I can't get worse than this, I can't get worse than that. And these numbers start creeping in, and then the stress level and the anxiety starts to creep up. Just get out there, as you pointed out, and just focus on the process, focus on the task at hand, and the numbers will take care of themselves. I mean, you may not break that 90 this time around, but eventually you're going to be able to do that. If you're focusing on, that's why, sometimes we've asked players, whether they're a scoreboard watcher or not. I find that the ones that don't focus on the scoreboards and that doesn't mean you can't be conscious of what's happening to kind of get an idea. But if you're constantly every scoreboard, you're like, okay, where am I? Okay, well, I'm way down here. What do I got to do? Then that again increases the stress and anxiety levels. And then you're not playing in the moment anymore. You're playing for a specific goal, and sometimes that goal is not going to serve you well. So I think you've got to, as you pointed out, I think you've got to focus on the process and you've got to focus on the task at hand and treat each shot, because they are individual and not as a group. Treat them individually, and when that one's done, it's done. Put it off over on the shelf, and now get ready to focus on the next one when it's your turn. And I think you'll serve yourself well. This is one, Cindy, I'm curious to see, because you've talked about this many, many times on the show, and that is knowing, sort of the left and right brain, if you will, knowing when to use the creative side of your brain and when not to. Give us an idea of what it means to use your creative side and what it means to use the other, and then how will we put it in practice?
When you have a shot and you walk up to the ball, the thing is to look at the surroundings, okay? What's your smartest play from this location? And once you figure out the smartest play from this location, let's say there's water, it's a par 5, it's 190 to carry the water, and it's 225 to the green. And you hit your 3-wood 200 yards in the air when you hit it perfect. Mm-hmm. So what's the lie look like? Do I have a great lie? Am I downwind? If I've got great lie, I'm downwind, I love my 3-wood, then go for it. But understand that the risk reward is you've got to hit this perfect to carry the water to get on the green. So then you have to say, well, what are the odds of me hitting it perfect? Am I going to try too hard? Am I going to lay up? Again, Justin Thomas on the first playoff hole over the weekend hit it in the woods. He laid up, and he got it up and down for par. So from, I think it was 70, 80, 90 yards. I don't remember exactly the yardage, but I know it was like, oh, wow, look at this. So he did the smart move there because there was water. He could have tried to hit it under the tree. Again, don't make a stupid play. So understand what have realistic expectations for your skill level to be able to choose shots. And the left brain side is, okay, how far is this? What's the wind doing? What's my lie look like? How far do I typically fly this ball? Those are all left brain thoughts. The right brain creative side says, okay, how do I want this shot to look? And can I feel it? And I call it the dumb blonde swing thought, right? That's not real technical. Well, I could say that because I am one. So, again, that's the creative side, that you want to be able to picture and imagine what you want to do. You have to be able to use both sides of your brain. And so many parents, if you will, try to get kids to use the left side of their brain. The kid can't swing. And then they're going to hit shots that are atrocious. And then they're going to be embarrassed, and then it's a downward spiral from there.
Yeah,
so,
a great point.
Use both.
Yeah, exactly. Each serves its purpose, and knowing when and where to engage which side at what appropriate time is paramount. And again, that comes with practice. And I don't mean just practicing out on the practice tee or on the golf course, but just focusing on your strategy, understanding when to do things, when not to do things, and understand. You said it perfectly, and that is really to understand make sure your expectations are realistic, and not trying to do things. Using that example, the 220 yards or what have you. If you're not confident with that 3-wood, and you've got 190 yards to carry, that may not be the choice for you. If you're pulling that shot off 50%, that's maybe not the shot that you need to take at that particular moment. So you need to assess the situation, and you need to say, okay, what can I do here that's going to give me the highest percentage of success for this particular shot in the moment? And that's what you want to do. And, as you improve as a player, then you can, maybe afford to take a little more risk as your percentages go up in certain areas. But that's where a lot of players, I think, and I'm talking obviously amateur golfers, make that mistake. They get on the practice tee and they hit that 8-iron, maybe 140 yards pure, and it's just landing right beside the little flag that's out in the driving range. And they get out in the golf course and they, get faced with that same shot and say, oh, that's my 8-iron. And maybe it's not. They only hit it one time, that distance. The rest of the time they were left, right, far, short, what have you. But they figure that's okay. That's how far I'm going to hit that 8-iron, and that may not be the case. That's maybe under perfect or ideal conditions. So they've got to be able to really dial into what their abilities are, and then again assess the situation. The last one we're going to talk about is maybe a tip or two on filtering out distractions during your route. Now, this obviously is more applicable to the professionals with everything from cameras clicking in the background to, applause, maybe a green or a hole over. But this is something that we can do because even amateurs do have this in different areas, Cindy, where they are distracted very easily. And it may be not distracted necessarily by outside noises, but not getting in the zone and really getting their mind mentally prepared for that particular shot. So what are some suggestions that you could have to help avoid some of those distractions? Maybe one or two, or maybe an example of, if there are outside elements, that could be something for our professionals, and maybe for our amateurs, some of the distractions they may be faced with. What can they do to help overcome that?
Well, again, it's being able to be aware that you're being distracted. And is this a good distraction or a bad distraction? Sometimes there's good distractions that, you need to think of something else. I guess if, what do I want to say? Again, most people just grab a club and hit it, and they don't pay attention to what they're doing and where they want the ball to go. And if you learn to stop and think and create a plan, golf's going to be a lot more fun, and you're going to hit better shots, and you're going to score lower. So I think it's saying, okay, do I want to go to the next level? Am I just out here, playing with my friends, not paying attention, not keeping score? We did an event last night for Pagula Sports and Entertainment, and I said to the women, what do you shoot? Well, I don't even keep score. I play for fun. Well, that's okay if that's what you want to do. And go play the par 3 and just have fun and take a walk on some grass and hit a ball, right? But the next level is, let's keep score. Let's try to get the ball in the air. Let's have a goal. So I think it's, what do you want out of it? Why are you here? And then we can create a plan for you to get what you want.
Yeah. I think also, too, and you mentioned this earlier when you were referencing Annika, and that is a pre-shot routine. We see a lot of times, and I'm going to use Tiger as an example, because he has a myriad of distractions when he's out there, and he's got such huge crowds, and there's people, moving around, there's cameras going off, and, what's always interesting, in his case, a lot of times what he will do is he'll go through his routine. He's getting ready to, execute whatever shot he's got in his mind. Okay, the shot he wants to hit, and then all of a sudden the camera will go off mid-swing, and he'll stop, which obviously is not very easy for a lot of people to do, but he has the ability to do that. But what's interesting is he doesn't just get up there and hit the shot. He actually goes through that routine, and I think that's a big thing. If you're somebody that, let's say you get over a shot, and it doesn't have to be an outside distraction, but let's say you've gone through the process, you're getting ready to and again, obviously you have to be mindful of slow play. You're not wanting to hold up everybody. But let's say you get over there and you chose that 8-iron, and you're going through your pre-shot routine. You're thinking, okay, and then you get over there, and all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't think my 8-irons. If you're all of a sudden doubts creeping in, that's going to wreak havoc. Now, you still might pull off a decent shot, but it's maybe not the shot that you need for that particular time. So it's okay to stop, grab the right club that you feel is going to be, and then go through that routine again. That helps, I believe, to filter out some of the distractions. And a distraction could be something going on in your own mind, an uncertainty or an unsureness about being able to execute the shot at hand. So sometimes you have to find, and I think the pre-shot routine is a great way to do that. Again, you want to get it down to precision, to the point where, and you mentioned Annika's, was 23 seconds, whatever yours might be 20 seconds. You want to have that, and you want it consistent. And when you have that consistency, it's very easy to stay focused on the task at hand. If you're 1 minute, your pre-shot routine is 25 seconds, the next time it's 15 seconds, and then it's jumping back and forth. It's, maybe one time it's a waggle, the next time it's 3 waggles. If there's not a consistency in that, it's very easy to become distracted and your mind begins to wander. And I don't know, whether you agree 100% with that or not. I'm interested in your thoughts. But I think if you have a really well put together pre-shot routine, that is going to help you stay focused on the task at hand, and is less likely, I'm not saying it's impossible, to have you become distracted while you're out there in the golf course. What do you think?
I totally agree. What should I be thinking right now? And again, I teach people from total beginners to tour players. So the total beginner doesn't even know that they need to be thinking anything. So there's so many parts to learning how to play, and it takes time. Again, the woman that hired us last night, she says, I've been doing this for 3 years. I said, well, it takes a beginner anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get it, and you have to work at it. It's not like, it just shows up. So don't be discouraged, I've been doing this for 50.
Right. Yeah, I've been doing this a while too, and I still, find myself having some struggles in that too. So, it's a continual learning process. But I think, for most golfers out there, something like a pre-shot routine. The other thing is having one sort of swing thought, and it might be, swing smooth or something to do with your tempo. Focus on that as well. Don't get, I've got to get my right arm here and my left, and my grip has to be this way. You do that in your setup, you get yourself in the right position, but then when you're getting ready to execute the shot, you're not thinking all of these different things. And that's another thing that's a distraction. You're now distracting from the task at hand, because now you're becoming very mechanical and very, in that sense. So you need to sort of have maybe just one swing thought. Maybe it's just, take low and slow, or whatever the case, whatever it is for you that works. That's what you want to think about. And then when the shot's done, then you can, as you're walking or driving your cart, what have you, you can kind of, I don't recommend doing it. I always say to do it at the end of the round, but some people like to analyze what just happened. But you've got to be careful of that too, because that's also a distraction, because then what happens is you become paralyzed because you overanalyze everything. Every shot you're saying, well, maybe I didn't do this, maybe I did that. Then the next shot comes in, Cindy, and what happens? You start thinking all of these things. Well, the last shot, this happened, so I got to make sure I don't do it this time, and they get out of that routine. Agree?
Agree. Totally. Totally agree,
right.
My dear. You are right on the money.
Well, I have to say, this comes into my own trial and error over years. And it's true, though. People don't realize this. I see this. It's funny, even on the practice range, even on the driving range, I can tell by watching somebody if they're thinking too much. Because I've seen people that will stand, this is on the practice, forget real play. They're standing over the ball for the longest time. And I've seen people hit 3 shots out into the range before this person hits the first one. And it's because they're thinking in their mind. And, I know that that's the place to analyze and to focus on certain things and to get yourself prepared. But if it kind of reminds you remember several years back, Sergio Garcia used to do that out on tour, and he'd sit there and he'd re-grip about 1,000 times. And it would get to the point where it became a joke amongst not only fellow tour players, but against the announcers, amongst the announcers as well. And, it got to the point where he was just going through this process, and it did not serve him well. Now you don't see him doing that, certainly nowhere near the same degree. But that was something, for whatever reason, he was going through that process, and it did not serve him well. And I've seen that happen with people where they're starting to think too much. And then they get out there, and then they don't enjoy it. And I think that's really what takes away a lot of enjoyment, is people get too mentally stymied, if you will, or even crippled mentally out on the golf course because they're overthinking the process. And golf can be a much simpler game. It is challenging. No, we both know that for sure. But it can be a much simpler game if we use our head a little bit more appropriately and not allow a lot of negativity to get in and a lot of overthinking during that process. I think you'll find you'll be a lot more successful. People spend too much time on the physical part of the game, which obviously is important, and not enough on the mental side of the game. And I think if they flip the switch a little bit, spend a little bit more time preparing, going through some of the things, the points that you mentioned earlier, I think that people will start to begin to see things a little bit differently and hopefully enjoy their rounds a little bit better. But on that note, I think we can wrap it up, Cindy. I think that was an interesting discussion. I want to thank again our special guest, Grace Kim, and again, congratulations on your first Epson Tour win at the Iowa Golf Classic. I think she's going to have many more coming down the road. But on that note, Cindy, I think we can wrap it up. What do you think?
I think you are right. What a great day.
That was a great day.
It's
all right.
In Buffalo. It's time to go fix swings.
That's right. Go do what you do best, Cindy. All right. On behalf of Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf. We're always glad that you can join us. We'll see you next week right here on the Women of Golf. God bless everybody and have a great week. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network or on any of these social media platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf Facebook page at www.facebook.com/womenofgolf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.